Hello and welcome along to the TGP1 Season 34 finale. We're here at the splendid Interlagos circuit in Brazil before moving on to our traditional final round at Abu Dhabi. It's title fight night where our two championship contenders, Kyle and Matt, will fight it out to be crowned champion. The gap, just 15 points, will be decided in front of your very eyes. 20 races have taken us to all corners of the world to find out who will be our champion, with many twists, turns and social distancing along the way. Will it be the chaser or the chasee who snatches the crown? Your guess is as good as mine. And here to do some guessing with me is Dom Smith. Dom, welcome along to Fight Night. Are you looking forward to it?
Hello Mike, great to be here. What a season it's been. 9 different race winners over the last 10 weeks, and as you said, it all comes down to this. A 15-point gap between Matt and Kyle, with arguably the quicker of the two drivers doing the chase, and tonight is set up beautifully. Brazil and Abu Dhabi to come. Can Kyle become our 19th top tier TGP1 champion, or will Matt Tibbors become only the 7th driver to take multiple crowns in the top tier? I cannot wait for the next 90 minutes.
Dom, I'm absolutely relishing this opportunity to be commentating with you here tonight. We've got glorious sunshine here in Brazil. It's going to be dry all the way through the qualifying and the race, so we're really going to find out which driver has got their setup tuned in just right for this tricky, this fast and technical circuit that we have here, set between the two lakes just on the outskirts of Sao Paulo. You're joining us with just over 5 minutes to go left in qualifying. And at the moment, we have Corey on provisional pole with title hopeful Matt Tibbors in second. Matt, as we said, 15 points behind our championship leader Kyle, who's having a dreadful start to his qualifying here on the final night of the season. Down in 10th place at the moment, but I understand he's going to try for a lap very soon, so we'll go on to follow that shortly as we have a quick rundown then of our top 10 runners so far in qualifying. As said, with around 5 minutes left to go. We have Corey on provisional pole, Matt Tibbors in second, we have Jay Luke in third, Machine Fishy fourth, Phil Bargewell, his birthday, in fifth place, Aidan Griffins in sixth, Ginger Andy, a solid performance for him so far, in seventh, Kong Hoffner in eighth, Speed Knighton in ninth, and rounding out our top 10 at the moment, our championship leader Kyle, who's coming up to the line now. Will this be an improvement for him? It isn't, no. He's only 95 thousandths of a second quicker, and he's gone wide at turn one there. Kyle is running out of time, Dom.
This is not good for the championship leader down in P10. He will have one more run in this session, but this is not the ideal start for him here around Interlagos. Corey currently is beating Matt Tibbors, which could be crucial. If Matt Tibbors doesn't win the races, it's not necessarily over for Kyle tonight. As I said, the gap is 15 points. But yeah, Kyle currently down in P10. He should still get one more lap in. It's going to be tight. He's going to need the tow from his teammate and hope that no one else gets in his way. He's got to get back to the pits now as soon as possible. But Matt Tibbors, I believe, is about to start his final lap. Currently just 1/100th of a second behind Corey's time of a 1:06.719.
It's certainly tight at the top, isn't it? Just 300ths of a second separating our top three. With Matt Tibbors currently sandwiched in the middle. Matt actually peeling into the pits, maybe trying to save himself for one more run. He was actually on the medium tyres on that run there, so maybe just getting a sighter lap in before his last run. Kyle just peeling off into the pits now as well. We separating the first 12 cars. This is fantastically close, this qualifying session so far. It could move around anywhere. Although saying that, we do have a 0.3 of a second gap between fourth and third, so maybe the top three are safe where they are, but certainly there's a lot of chopping and change that can happen. And as we can see, Kyle at the moment only needs to find himself 2/10, and he'd be in fifth.
Down the man, of course. 80 pole positions in his career. Watch out for him. He's currently down in P14, not where he expects to be. I expect a better lap time from him on his final run. All the drivers are now leaving the pit lane, getting ready for their final laps in this session. Worth to note that we are about 40 seconds out on the clock in the top left, so there is actually 3 minutes of this session to go, not 2 minutes and 10 seconds. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I think a lot of drivers are yet to improve, so Kyle could actually be in a worse position in a few minutes' time.
Certainly can, and we've still got a lot of drivers in the pits, as Dom rightly pointed out. We got the first few about to head onto a out lap, but we do have one driver on a lap at the moment, and that is Jack Hickman. He is working his way through the middle sector at the moment, dropping down the hill as he heads back up the hill now towards this really tricky, tight right-handed corner. He needs to pick up the throttle well, try not any oversteer on the exit. Now through the long left-hander to the end of sector 2, coming up to Zheng Chao. That tight, tricky left-hand corner, got to get on the power nicely. He does so. Up the hill then. At the moment, Jack Hickman, 8/10 of a second off pole position, but a couple attempts would move him up a few places. DRS flap open, the racing point up to the line. Where can this lap put him? It is an improvement for him, but that 2 attempts kept him in 11th. This is how tight this field is, Dom.
Yeah, really, really tight. Lots of drivers now just about to start their laps. I think most are going for their outlaps at the moment. Kyle has left the pit lane. He's about to start his. He'll be one of the last drivers to cross the line. We've got the second racing point of Aidan Griffin starting his time. Currently in P6, looking for a top 5, and already he's invalidated it in turn 2. It's so easy to do around here, to put a wheel just over the curb too aggressively, and that's it. The lap is done. Aidan will start no higher than 6th. At best in this qualifying session. Who is next on a lap? I think Corey is just...
Well, Corey was, interestingly, Dom, on a lap, but I think he may have befallen the same thing that happened to Aidan, but again, quite early on in the lap. And was just recharging his battery maybe. So as Dom said, our clock is about 40 seconds out. We have a Red Bull right on the racing line there, and there's a huge accident, and Corey has ploughed into the back of the Red Bull driver. I'm not sure who that was. I think that was Jake, who was cruising on his way back into the pits. Dan the man has jumped up in 7th in the meantime, but our pole position man isn't going to be able to go any quicker because his car's missing a tyre.
That's quite crazy. Okay then, so now it's time for the drivers behind to see what they can do about the time that Corey has set so far in that Mercedes. Matt Tibod and Machine Fishy, watch out for them, starting their outlaps now. Kyle is on a lap, currently in P11. This is not where he needs to start. He needs to be in that top 10. He ideally needs to be on the front 2 or 3 rows. What can he do in that Williams? He wants to at least get himself in the mix. He cannot afford to have himself fighting in the midfield on the opening lap. So he's got off the circuit, and he's off into the grass, into the wall, and Kyle will start no higher than P11, Mike.
Unbelievable. Our championship leader is going to be outside the top 10 on final night. He will get a free choice and tyre, but I really think that's as little consolation to him as humanly possible. Matt Tibos doesn't really need to push on this final lap, but he wants pole. Why wouldn't he? There's a chance to start from pole position on title fight night. Corey, his main challenger, isn't going to be setting any quicker laps. Jay Luke, of course, Carl's teammate, could really help him out here. He's coming along the start-finish line now. Can Jay Luke put himself into the top 2 positions? Yes, he can. He goes pole position. What's Matt Tibos got in his bank? He's working his way up the hill now. The DRS flap is wide open. The car's turned up to 11. He comes to line. Matt Tibos is on pole for the Brasilia Grand Prix. What a fantastic lap by nearly 1/10 of a second in the end, Dom. That was absolutely brilliant.
And Machine Fish is looking quick as well. He's up about 10th in the middle sector, but he's had a very tricky final corner, and he's not going to be improving. He will be starting P4. Aidan Griffins, what can he do? Currently in P6, goes up to 5th, so he's found the place. I think that is it now for qualifying. Matt Tibbles with a crucial pole position. It's one of many for him this season, exactly where he needed to be. He's beaten J. Luke, who of course is helping out Kyle in this race tonight. But Kyle down in P11, his championship rival in P1. This is not what he needs going into this Interlagos race, Mike.
This is fantastically poised for our penultimate race of the season. Our championship leader down in 11th place, but with a free choice of tyre. Brazil, not particularly famous for tyre wear, but it certainly will play its fat part in at some point. But Matt Tibos doing absolutely everything he needed to get himself in the prime position to maybe even take the lead of the championship going into the final round. Let's give you a rundown of our starting grid then for Brazil. We have Matt Tibos in pole position for Renault. Jay Luke, Matt Tibos' title rival's teammate, joining him on the front row. Corey, who had that bizarre incident towards the end of qualifying, will be in 3rd. Machine Fishy in 4th. Aidan Griffins and Phil Bargewell occupying the 3rd row, with Dan the Man and Ginger Andy 7th and 8th. Kong Hoffner in 9th and Speed Knighton rounding out the top 10. Your championship leader then is P11. Jack Hickey is in 12th. Paul McGuinness 13th. Then we have a Charles Leclerc impersonator in 14th. Kurt Gill 15th. Wace and Jake starting at the back with no time set. Dom, is this going to be a classic?
I think it has to be, Mike, and we are expecting a dry race just to add, so no sudden rain showers expected in the next half an hour. But Kyle said he just couldn't get any grip into the tyres. He didn't have any confidence on them. He couldn't push them to the limits that he's done in recent weeks. And Kyle now with P11 with it all to do, but we've seen in the previous weeks throughout this season that Kyle is one of the best drivers at fighting his way through the field. So he needs something like that magic again here today to do something. The championship lead. So what a race this is going to be. I don't know which way this is going to go. Jay Luke has got to get in the mix and get ahead of the Renault if he can into turn one. But all the drivers are going to be ready for this penultimate race of the season, and it should be a thriller.
It's all to play for. It's a short lap, and it's a shortish race in the grand scheme of things. But we still have 17 drivers out there who are all going to want to take the crown. We're lined up then on the grid. All the cars and the drivers are ready for the start of the penultimate race. We have 2, 3, 4, 5 lights in Interlagos. And we're underway, and it's a good start from the front row, and it's an even better start by the looks of it for Aidan Griffiths, but Matt Tibos wisely covers off Jay Luke going into turn one, and we've got the Mercedes and Corey challenging round the outside of Jay Luke. Matt Tibos is running away in the distance as the cars are bunching up towards the back. Kyle's made up one position further backwards. They had the long run down then to turn four. Matt Tibos is streaks ahead as we got McLarens all over the track in the background, but Corey has made his way back up into second place now. After that disappointing qualifying, we have a yellow flag further back. There's some incident involving Court, I believe, a little bit further back. Kyle is up to 10th place, so getting a point now. And but that was the dream start, you have to say, from Matt Tibos, as there's fighting and spinning and maybe a little bit of contact involved a little bit further back, as we've got Williams is everywhere. But Kyle does seem to have kept it together, I have to say, in 10th place at the moment, as we've got a Ferrari almost spinning around there of Ginger Andy, and it was Quarter who was involved in that incident further on, along with Machine Fishy, who's down in 16th place. But Dom, what a dream start that was for Matt Tibos.
And disaster for Kyle. I believe he's going to dive into the pit lane for a new front wing. Machine Fishy spun himself round in the middle sector. Kyle had to avoid the action, but unfortunately for him, there was a Ferrari in front who had to stop, and Kyle needs a new front wing. He dives into the pit lane at the end of the first lap, as does a car in front. I think it's Paul. But yeah, disaster for Kyle at the start of the race. Got a bit of a tap from Court in the first sector. That's not what he needed. Then more despair just moments later when he hit the back of a Ferrari who was avoiding Machine Fishy's spun car. So Kyle at the very back of the grid with a new front wing at the end of the first lap.
Unbelievable. It was actually Speed Knighton pulling into the pits as well. We have 6 cars in the pits at the end of lap 1, and Carl's actually had to wait for Knighton to squeeze through, and he's just got out in front of Jack Hickman there in the pit stops. As meanwhile, out the front, Matt Tibos with nearly a second lead over his nearest challenger, Corey, and Jay Luke not doing his teammate any favours at all. By not holding on to that second place, over a second now already behind Corey. And Corey, you have to say, is soon going to be putting Matt Tibos under some severe pressure. And you have to say, he probably might have been challenging Matt for pole if he'd had that last run. The gap is now down to just over 6/10. Corey very much in the wheel tracks of that Renault, and will be making Matt, I'm sure, very nervous as he now sets the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it's just not worked out for Corey this season. He won both races on the opener night, Australia and Bahrain, but since then, for whatever reason, it's just not gone to plan. Since then, he's been unable to match the likes of Machine Fishy and Carl at the front. Corey is getting very close. He's had a lot of second place finishes, but has not won since the opener week, but he's looking very racy here. He knows this is a great chance. He might be going out as the defending champion, but he's got a good chance here to show that he can take wins still. And Matt Tibos, will he necessarily fight him as much as he needs to? He knows his championship rival is at the back of the field, scoring no points as things stand. Matt does not need to get involved in any risky business here at the front. But Corey looking quick, looking racy, and we should have a good race. As Andy, I think, also pressuring Phil for P5 and P6, just 3 tenths between those two, so keep an eye on that as well.
Yeah, certainly, and just behind them as well, we have CJ and Dan having a good little scrap there. As now Paul McGuinness is joining the party, the other Mercedes. This could get very tasty in this elongated battle for 5th, we will call it. As further back as well, we've got Jake Dennis all over the back of Kong Hoffner, those two obviously involved in those first lap shenanigans. Kyle then 17 seconds off his nearest challenger. Meanwhile, at the front, with DRS, Corey putting piles and piles of pressure on the Renault driver in front of him. And will Tibos defend? Will he let him go and just follow him? We're about to find out. It's the first real overtaking opportunity we have then with DRS. Corey gaining on Matt, but not gaining enough. and he's going to have to settle behind him for one lap longer. As we look further back, Dan the man having a great scrap now with Ginger Andy and Phil Bardwell. Phil on his birthday has gone for a spin, and that will not blow the candles out on his cake very nicely as he clips the side of the Ferrari, and Phil drops all the way back to 11th. Andy and Dan now continue the little battle with CJ wanting to get involved too. He makes a little half move up the inside of the Ferrari driver, and a bit of incident going on there at turn 4 there, Dom.
Yeah, this is what Kyle needs. He needs these midfield rappers to be scrapping away and taking time off each other. It was a fantastic battle between Phil and Andy for about half a lap. They were side by side through turns 1, 2, 3 and 4. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, it didn't quite work out the next corner. Phil spun himself round. Andy and Dan now having this fight over 5th and 6th. What a result this would be for Andy if he can stay in that top 5 places. But Dan the man looking very racy behind, and CJH up 7 places into the top 7 himself. So fantastic for him. He's got Paul right on the back of him now, as Paul will think about a move. In fact, Dan will think about a move on Andy inside into turn 1. He's going to go for it, and he doesn't fight him so hard. He'll cut for the cutback into turn 2. But Dan the man keeps it, and he's through into P5.
Oh, Dom, we've got to change for the lead. We were watching the battle for 5th. Meanwhile, Corey has taken the lead ahead of Matt Tibos on the run down to turn 4. And this is fantastic news for Kyle, because if he can haul himself into the points positions now, this will be a lot less damaging to his title chances. I don't think you caught it there, Dom, but Dan has actually got some damage to his front wing. So I'm surprised that Ferrari haven't been over the radio saying, get out of the way, let Andy go. It's disastrous for them. And is really dropping them back now 6 seconds off of the back of Aiden, and really bringing Paul and CJH into the game. Paul having a great race so far, really mixing it in with the Ferraris.
Kyle has pitted with a soft tyre, so I suspect he may have to come in again for another change of tyres. I'm not sure if he can get them to the end, especially around this Interlagos circuit. Tyre wear not as bad as other circuits, but it is still a bit of a stretch to get 17 laps on that soft rubber, so that's not what he needs. There's an almighty scrap still. 4 cars fighting for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. Is this a chance now for Paul to get the 2 Ferraris ahead? Andy will look to get back ahead. Dan the man, it's the same move that Dan did it to Andy at the previous corner. Keep an eye at the front as well. Corey still for now holding off Matt Tibos to get 3 tenths, but the 2 Ferraris are getting very racy for P5 and P6, and he's going to have a glorious chance here into the following corner. He's been pushing down all that Dan, as you said, carrying damage. This is not what he needs. The 2 Ferraris. What's happened?
Oh, on my screen. Sorry, Dom. They made contact. I don't know if that was legitimate or not, but I had flashbacks to last year. But for now, at least, Ginger Andy remains behind Dan. But Dan really struggling with that front wing, and it's so apparent in this middle sector as Machine Fishy's now being pulled into this battle. We have a fantastic 5-car scrap for P5 for the 2 Ferraris out in front. But you have to say, Dan very much now being the cork in what is a very congested bottle, and surely at some point it's going to pop. We have a yellow flag further back. Machine Fishy's gone for a spin. Commentator's curse. Really not working for him. He's having a little bit of a race to forget, you have to say, as we have Matt Tibos and Jay Luke in the pits then. The first of the front runners to come in. They'll surely be going on to the medium tyres. Paul McGuinness is not coming in. Paul McGuinness, meanwhile, is trying to make a move around the outside of Andy, going into turn 2. Not this time. And he, I think, is going to struggle to get the cut back there, as we've had another driver peel into the pits as well. Obviously, Dan was changing his front wing. Paul then on the DRS. Andy goes fighting their way down into turn 4. These two on 2 different strategies. Andy on the soft tyres and Paul on the mediums. But for now, at least, Dom, Andy is holding on.
Matt Tibos and J-Luke looking to do the undercut on Corey. Matt just couldn't react to the pace that Corey was setting. Bad news for J-Luke. He is now right behind Phil Bardwell, so he's not got the clean air that he needed. Kyle, in reference, is 10 seconds back from these drivers. Of course, Kyle pitted at the end of the first lap, may have to stop again. But you can see Kyle losing chunks of time behind Phil Bardwell, while Matt Tibos in clean air.
Oh, here goes Luke round the outside. Is he of Phil? Not quite. Sorry to cut in there, Dom.
Yeah, J-Luke almost thinking about a move. I think he's just too far back from Phil Bardwell. He should get a glorious chance if Phil doesn't dive into the pits himself at the next corner. Look, it's round the outside. Maybe Phil not leaving him any room. J-Luke, this is costing him in this fight for the win with Corey, who does indeed dive into the pit lane. What can Matt Tibos do?
I'm not sure. We've also got Andy diving into the pits as well. Andy is unfortunately sped into the pit lane, which really isn't going to help his chances. But where is Matt Tibos? He's heading into turn 1 now. We've got Corey getting out of the pit lane speed limiter. It's a tricky pit exit here at Interlagos. Matt Tibos then heading his way round the corner. They're almost neck and neck, but Matt Tibos has successfully performed the undercut.
crucial for Matt Tibbos. He was in clean air that whole lap. Corey just didn't have the pace on his used softs, and Matt Tibbos now back into the lead of the race as a yellow flag. Speed 9 is the first casualty from this race. There should not be a safety car. He did retire in the pit lane, but that is not what Corey wanted to see. But Matt Tibbos is now stuck in traffic. He's got the 2 Alfa Romeos ahead of him. Of course, these cars all battling for that midfield position for what is really a net P5 once all the drivers have made their stops. Kyle has now closed onto the back of Ginger Andy, so Kyle will be around P5 and P6 once all these drivers have made their stops.
You have to say, though, Kyle on the soft tyres is going to be very difficult for him. Obviously, he started on the mediums, trying to do the alternative strategy, and that first lap incident has not helped him at all. So we'll keep an eye on our autumn car watch there. But meanwhile, we have Matt all over the back of Court, with Corey keeping close attention to the pair of them. Are we going to see Court dive into the pits? No, we're not. But we are going to see Matt dive down the outside of Court going into turn 1. Corey wants to get involved as well, does not want to lose any time in this battle for the lead. And he's not able to go around the outside of Court. There's Court sliding and slipping round the centre S's, and Corey's losing so much time to Matt Tibbos. Corey then, he does have DRS, but it's so far back, he's going to have to wait a few more corners at least. Jay Luke is nearly 3 seconds behind this pair. It's not really working out for him very well at the moment, as we have Machine Fishy pitting further in background. And Kyle now up to 9th and still putting pressure on Ginger Andy, Dom.
Court was so twitchy through turns 1 and 2. Corey just had to sit back, got involved, getting in a risk there because it was so close to hitting the back of the Alfa Romeo. Court very twitchy, and that's giving Matt Tibbos a bit of breathing space now out at front. The gap at the moment will be down to, I think, 8 points in Matt's favour.
Oh, here he goes. Corey was thinking about it. He's going to have a look into Jung Chao, is he? No, he's not. He's going to have to sit behind. Don't damage your front wing on the back of that Alfa Romeo, Corey. Keep it clean. He's diving up the inside before we'll even get to the DRS zone, and he's got the move done. Very brave as Court now dives into the pits, and Corey wishes that was at least a lap ago. But a crucial stage in the race for Corey. Lost so much time to Matt Tibbos there. The gap between them now is 1.5 seconds. And that could be really crucial as we head towards the end of the race. We know Corey obviously has the fresher tyres, but is now going to have to push even harder to keep within range of Matt Tibbos than he needs to, who meanwhile is now starting to put pressure on the next car.
Yeah, Andy, for now, holding off Kyle in P7. How much will he fight this battle? He knows that Kyle's a title contender, but Andy does love to get involved in these types of racing. He absolutely loves this. He relishes these opportunities. Sector 2, yellow flag again. We've got a spinning Has. Will that cause any VSC or safety car? Kyle will look to try and get through on the Ferrari here. He can't afford to sit back for too long. He does have a bit of a gap to Fishy behind, but Fishy should be closing in on that gap with new, fresher tyres. Aiden setting some very good pace on what is now 10-lap old softs. I suspect he should pit this time round, and indeed he does. I know he stays up for one more lap. He's setting some good pace up front, so why risk that opportunity? Paul and CJ are on the medium tyres. They'll pit for the softs very shortly. But yeah, Andy for now holding on to P7, but it's a matter of when and maybe not if.
Dom, I have to say we've got some great battles here as Matt Tibbos has now found his way past CJH going into turn 1. We've obviously got Kyle all over the back of Andy. We also have Dan the Man further back on his recovery drive, all over the back of Kong Hoffner. Fantastic battles going on all over the track. We have a yellow flag in sector 3. I think that was for Waze. And what do we have going on, Dom?
Turns 1 and 2, Kyle and Andy side by side. Kyle had some great grit around the outside, but unfortunately for him, Andy had the better traction through turns 2, but now a second chance of a glory for Kyle. He'll move to the right. Andy will defend that inside. Andy will choose to brake a little later, but Kyle wheel to wheel, these two drivers fighting for position, racing very fairly. Andy for now holds on, but at what point will Kyle sense the opportunity and just go for it? He can't afford a huge crash, but at the same time he's got to go for it. Side by side still, as they have been for the last 10 car in front of that Ferrari, but Andy will not give up too easily. He'll come straight back at him. Kyle holds on. He takes P7, crucially now ahead of Ginger Andy.
Wow, side by side around almost the whole of the Interlagos lap. Kyle and Andy showing how it's done in the Williams and the Ferrari. Andy not giving up one piece. Kyle on those used soft tyres, which he's been on since lap 1, remember. Andy on his recovery drive, and that was absolutely fantastic racing between the two of them there. We do now have that top 3 Mario coming to the pits. Andy putting all kinds of pressure on Carl. He doesn't want to give up that 7th place in a hurry. He's going to try around the outside. He brakes late. Kyle brakes later. We've got the Mercedes of Paul McGuinness coming out of the pits. Aiden's had a fantastic stint and come out in 4th place ahead of these two scrapping. Andy with the DRS. He's got Machine Fishy. He's pulling into this battle. Andy moves out of the slipstream and thinks about a move and it locks up a front brake. And for a moment then, Dom, I thought he was going to bury the nose of his Ferrari in Carl's gearbox.
Yeah, and I'm very glad he didn't. But Machine Fishy now joins the back of this pack. He is looking very quick on those medium tyres. He's won a few races this season, so he will be very racy behind these two. We've seen Machine Fishy should have won the title last season, came very close, but just missed out agonisingly on the final night, despite leading pretty much the whole season. He couldn't quite make up for it this season as Andy continues. He hits the back of Kyle, and that's going to cost him. And now Machine
Andy getting a little bit brave on his brake pedal, and it very nearly cost him and Kyle dearly. It's cost him a position at least, Machine Fishy, and it may even cost him another one with Paul McGuinness on those fresh tyres. The two Scots going wheel to wheel with each other down the start-finish straight. Paul McGuinness, these two both have DRS, and they're going to be closing on the cars in front. Who's going to be bravest on the brakes? For now at least, it's Paul McGuinness. And the four of these guys then moving along nicely, but with a 9-second gap between them and Aiden. You have to say Aiden very well could join the battle for the podium positions, you have to say, as we got Machine Fishy putting all kinds of pressure on the back of Kyle, but Kyle just about doing enough. His tyres must be screaming to be coming off that car right now. Machine Fishy darting left and right, and he stays for the moment at least behind the championship leader, but could he be an outgoing championship leader? Not at the moment, as Paul McGuinness now taps the back of Machine Fishy, and he's going to try and move around the outside. Not this time, but surely he's going to try one into the next corner. Paul on new soft tyres dives up the inside of the Alfa Romeo. They get very close to contact, but Machine Fishy just about holds on, and this gives Carl a little bit of breathing space that he wants. Paul thinks about a move into Jung Chao, but not for now, and he's going to be sat in the slipstream in his wheel tracks waiting for that DRS. Kyle not with much breathing space because he's only got half a second difference. Machine Fishy's going to have DRS. Paul's going to have DRS. Who's going to be the leading car out of these three going into turn number 1? Carl's had to go defensive. Machine Fishy around the outside. Has he made it through into turn 2? There's almost contact, and this is going to bring Paul right back into it as well. The three of them separated by next to nothing. Carl without DRS, Paul and Fishy with DRS. On the run down to turn number 4. Who's going to be in front? Machine Fishy takes 5th place.
And Paul McGee almost trying to take the position too. Just 5 more laps, Kyle. 5 more laps to hold on to these tyres. You can see how much he's struggling. He's had enough. He wants this race over as soon as it can possibly be. Currently now in P6. He's going to lose time to Machine Fishy. Machine Fishy should now start to pull away. Paul needs to clear Kyle as soon as he possibly can. He's got Andy all over the back of him. Andy's got CJH all over the back of him. It's going to be a move up the inside here from Paul McGee. Getting very racy. He's looking so quick in that Mercedes on these set of tyres around this circuit. But for now, Kyle holds on. They almost bang wheels. They're side by side going into the final corner. This is going to be brilliant as they cross the line.
This is going to be absolutely fantastic. Paul then on the outside with a fantastic run, you have to say, coming up the hill. Kyle can just see the time and positions falling away. He's got 3 cars behind him ready to pounce, and one of them's going to try it into turn number 1. Kyle has to go defensive. Paul tries a half-hearted move down the inside. There's almost contact. Andy then has to slam on the brakes behind him. These three were within such close quarters of each other, with CJH just behind him. Kyle just needs to hang on. He's got 4 laps to go, but can he do it? And he's going to try a double move on the pair of them, is he? He runs up the inside of Paul with nearly contact, and CJH has now got a fantastic run on the pair of them. The McLaren driver heading up to the double right-hander. He's on the outside. He's very nearly on the grass, and he's very nearly past Ginger Andy, but what he is off the track.
Yeah, a bit too eager there, I think. Ran out of room. He's off now, back into P9. Have to chase them all over again. But how close is this? This is some brilliant racing. Kyle holding on for his dear life. Paul getting so close. Meanwhile, Aiden Griffiths has closed the gap to J-Luke. The gap now less than a second. He will get DRS on the next straight. Can he take P3 from J-Luke? Paul getting very racy. He'll have 3 more laps to get through this Williams driver. Kyle needs these points for his championship hopes. His championship hopes are starting to slip. Matt Taylor's looking very good to take the race win here. But can Paul take P6 from Kyle? Can Kyle fight back and take P5 from Fishy? Fishy not pulling the distance that I thought he would. Fishy's now under attack from Kyle for P5. Can Kyle make a move up the inside into turn 1? He brakes later, and through he goes into P5.
but can he? Fishy's fighting him back, and this is losing Kyle so much time. Back in the clutches of Paul again. This is going awfully for Fishy, who's now under pressure from both of them. Paul is going to try and get past at least one of them, you have to say. Kyle going around the outside, and Kyle into P5. And Dom, you know what this means with Kyle in P5 and Matt in P1. They will be level on points going into the last race, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We still have 2.5 laps to go of this enthralling race at Brazil at Interlagos, the penultimate round of the season 34 at TGP1. The title swinging one way and the next. You just don't know who it's going to go to. But at the moment, that's not on Carl's mind. He's just focused on holding on to that 5th place with all of his might from anyone who comes to challenge him, and just about anyone is coming and challenge him at the moment. And the Machine Fishy will really want that 5th place back. This train of cars now extends all the way back to P11 as we get onto the penultimate lap. What more does Kyle have to do to hold on? And he's having to defend for everything, and he's got is what he's having to do. Machine Fishy trying round the outside. Last of the late breakers, can't do it there. Kyle defends into turn 2. Turn 3 is all about getting the traction sorted for the run down to turn 4. Machine Fishy is going to get this one done easily, I fear. And Kyle may be thinking about the last lap and thinking of the DRS and where he has to be at the right time. Meanwhile, Matt Tibos, and Kyle getting all squirrely on the exit, and that's put Paul right where he wants to be to get up the inside of Kyle. And is he going to get it done? He is. Kyle runs wide, and he's lost 2 positions in a matter of corners, Dom.
This 8-car train for P5 is absolutely fantastic. Machine Fishy, I thought he'd start to pull away as soon as he cleared Kyle, but it's not. It's the opposite. He just can't seem to get away from him. And now he's under attack from Paul McGee. Can Paul finally get himself into that top 5? What a drive it's been from Paul and that Mercedes. Up 7 places into P6. He's mastered the strategy. He's kept it clean. He's had some brilliant battles out there. And now he's all over the back of Machine Fishy for P5. And now Kyle has to look behind him, start to worry about Andy and C2H, who are coming up almost like Jaws to take that position from him. Paul McGee with a great chance here to take Fishy for P5.
Surely he's going to do it. Machine Fishy doesn't bother defending going into turn 1. Maybe wise. Paul McGee up the inside. The Mercedes driver gets into 5th place momentarily. Machine Fishy tries to run him up the inside into the next corner. Paul's picked up a penalty for that. That could be crucial. Kyle then with the DRS of both of these. We've got a fantastic view of this battle going down to turn 4. Fishy's going to try round the outside. Fishy tries round the outside. Fishy makes the move round the outside of turn 4 on Paul McGee. These two still running side by side as they head into turn 6. Is Fishy going to get it done? For the moment at least he does, and Kyle is still all over the back of these. Meanwhile, somewhere further around the lap, we do have our race leader surely about to come to the finishing line, but I don't really think we can take our eyes off this battle that's going on at the moment. We may have to, because Matt Tibos has come to the line to take the win in Brazil. He's done everything he needs to do. Kyle is still holding on for dear life of 7th, and he's going to try. This train is getting so long, it's giving me anxiety. Meanwhile, J. Luke held on to 3rd, but who's going to hold on to 5th? It's just about going to be Fishy. Paul McGee's going to finish on the road at least in 6th. Kyle's going to be 7th, but after penalties that will push him up to 6th. And Dom, that means that the gap going into the final race of the season is just 2 points.
Wow, Paul McGee actually missed out on points in the end there despite his incredible drive through the field. He finishes P11, he misses out. Despair for him, but Kyle does take P6. The gap is down to 2 points, as you just said. Absolutely set up nicely for the title decider in Abu Dhabi. Corey crucially taking the extra point for the fastest lap, taking it away from Matt and Kyle. But wow, what a race that was. An almighty train for P5 downwards throughout that race. Andy, I think, just about couldn't quite get through on Kyle. He almost tapped the back of him in the penultimate corner. Kyle just about held on. Andy thought about going for it, and I think Aiden did just miss out on the podium place to J. Luke. J. Luke holding on to P3, but Corey once again misses out, and Matt Tibos, another brilliant win to put him for the first time this season in the lead of the championship.
Wow. Absolutely fantastic. That battle for 5th was incredible. From 5th all the way down to 12th was separated by mere tenths of seconds, separating all those cars. Unbelievable. It's an 8th win of the season for Matt Tibos, and it's a 2-point lead in the championship. Winner takes all then as we head to Abu Dhabi. But who will be the winner Our rundown of our results then in Brazil. Matt Tibos finishes in first place. Didn't take the fastest lap though, crucially, so not an additional point for him. Corey finishing second place. What could have been if it wasn't for that stint he had to suffer behind court. Jay Luke in third. Aidan Griffins rounding out a great race for him in fourth place. Machine Fishy held on nicely for fifth place. Kyle, our outgoing championship leader, in sixth. Koet Gill in seventh. Then we had CJH in eighth. Jack Hickman in ninth. And our final points position was for Kong Hoffner. The two Scots, Paul and Andy, ended up outside of the points in the end, unfortunately for them. Phil Bargewell down in 13th after his early spin. Dan the Man in 14th with fastest lap, but he will not enjoy the additional point. In 15th, we had Jake Dennis, Wade Cooper in 16th, and Speed Knighton, our only retiree. I'll tell you what, Dom, I think I need a bit of a break now after that. That was hectic, to say the least, shall we say.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy, wasn't it? What a race we were treated to there around the Interlagos circuit, and the gap is just 2 points. Carl with 281, Matt with 283. We're getting very close to territory of a new record for the fewest points total to win the title. That came back in season 26. I think Flexi scored 296 points that season, just shy of 300. Well, Carl is only on 281, Matt 283. Can Carl win the title with just 2 race wins this season? Pretty remarkable if he does that feat. But yeah, on to Abu Dhabi now. And we've got to do it all over again, and Kyle this time has to beat Matt Tibos. Pretty simple. If he beats Matt Tibos, the chances are he will take the championship. The gap is just 2 points. Of course, if he is 5th, 6th, 7th or 8th, and it's just 1 place higher, Matt will probably win it on countback. Fastest lap could actually come into it here. We could get the bonus point for fastest lap deciding which direction the title goes. Will it go to Matt Tibos for a second time? Will Kyle become the 19th different top-tier TGP1 champion? It's set up very nicely. I think Corey just couldn't quite get the win there in that race. That would have helped Kyle a lot. Kyle would have still had the championship lead by about 5 points. Unfortunately for Corey, Matt got the undercut bang on, came in a lap earlier, took the position, and Corey couldn't quite get through the traffic as easily as Matt did. But we are moving now to Abu Dhabi, and if that race is anywhere near as good as what we just saw at Brazil, it should still be a pretty good one.
I hope so. I really hope so. A lot of you asking in the comments about some Bet Noon odds. Well, the Bet Noon title odds now as we go into the final race, I can reveal to you. So, Matt Tibos, 13-5, odds favourite to win the title, with Kyle's odds not very favourable at just 6-1. Who's your money on, ladies and gents? Let us know in the comments as we head into dusk for Abu Dhabi, our season finale. Who will take the crown, the chaser or the chasee? Well, they've swapped roles now, and we're going to find out who is going to be on top in a little under an hour's time. Well, Dom, I wouldn't know who to put my money on, but let's hope at least that we get a nice, clean, fair fight. And let's hope for a bit of action on track. Maybe even between the two of them, or asking for too much, I don't know. But we'll certainly find out as qualifying begins.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy, isn't it? Points in it, and also a great scrap, I must add, for 3rd, 4th and 5th in the championship. Just 10 points now, the difference between Dan and Corey and J-Luke for 3rd. All those 3 drivers fighting for the final place on that rostrum in the championship standing. Will those 3 come out of Abu Dhabi with a cheer? Will we be looking for the race wins themselves? Matt Tibos and Kyle is the real battle to watch there. Those 2 now fighting for this title. Who will it be? We've got 18 minutes of qualifying to come here, followed by, I believe it is 14 laps around this circuit, 25% race. So in about an hour's time we will know who is going to be our new champion.
Yeah, well, will we have a new champion? Or will, as Dom said at the beginning of the show, will we have only our 7th multiple champion in the top tier of TGP racing? Well, we're going to have some cars coming out onto track now, and we got our first car. We have a Mercedes working its way down the pits, and we have an Alfa Romeo working its way down the pits as well. Machine Fishy will be our first car on track. We're still in a little bit of daylight here in Abu Dhabi. The twilight's just starting to flicker on, and eventually will take centre stage for the light at this tremendous venue that we have here for racing. A state-of-the-art facility where racing can sometimes lack, but we have had some classics over the years as well, with many a title fight coming to here. Kyle, interestingly, is second on the road, with his teammate just behind him. So maybe there's a few tactics going on at Williams to ensure that Kyle can end up as high up the grid as he needs to really take the fight to Matt. Let's remind you then, there's a 2-point gap as we head into the last race of the season. Matt Tibos 2 points clear of Kyle, and Matt substantially ahead on countback, with 8 wins to Kyle's 2. So Kyle not only needs to beat Matt on the road, but he needs to make sure that he beats him by at least a point. And maybe even that fastest lap point will play into the hands of someone this evening. Well, we're about to get the first laps underway. As we said, we've got the cars circulating at the moment, and we're going to have the Alfa Romeo of Machine Fishy cross the line first, to set our first representative lap time, we hope, of the session. Our first ballpark figure of where we should be in this qualifying session. Kyle just behind him. We've got a yellow flag further back in Sector 3, but I'm assuming that's cars just backing up to ensure that they're giving each other plenty of space. So Machine Fishy then, let's follow him through this lap of Abu Dhabi. These first fast turn 3 and 4 complex as he now heads down the hill, a heavy braking zone into turn 5. Flick the car in, hold the rear end. That second corner so difficult of that chicane, the long hairpin, so frustrating, waiting to get onto the power and then floor it. I tell you what, Kyle might actually pick up a decent toe from Fishy here, you have to say, heading down the main straight now as we're coming down to the first really heavy braking zone. Braking about 100 metres, Machine Fishy ducks the nose of his car, gets it nicely into turn 9 there, I think it is. Little lock-up, you have to say, on the front left as he now makes his way onto the back straight now. DRS wide open as we head down to another heavy braking zone just after the 100-metre board. He's going to be looking for, watch the nose dip as he comes into braking. There it is. Take as much as that curb on the right-hand side as he can. Flicks it into the chicane. Rear end stepping out on him a little bit. He just about keeps it in the white lines. Machine Fishy then, as he comes to the end of the sector 2, I think all 4 wheels are off the track there, but we'll find out as the lap comes to an end. But as he heads through now that triple right-hander, this tricky corner, he's locked up again. He's off the track and he's spun, so he's not going to be our first representative lap time. That honour is going to be for Kyle. This tricky section underneath the hotel he comes into the penultimate corner. Can he keep all 4 wheels in the white lines? He can by quite some margin. Up to the line then, our first lap time on the board is going to be from Kyle, and it is a 1:34.9, and it's quickly... No, it's not quickly beaten. And it was a 0.3, I do forgive me, my eyes clearly testing. Kong Hoffner has gone just slower than him. Aidan Griffiths has now gone into the 1:33s. Jay Luke down in the low to mid 34s. Corey hasn't really put in the representative lap time. But we have our first lap times on the board. Kurt now joins them, and at the moment at least it's first blood to Aidan. But we're going to have a little look down further down the list, and who else is on a good lap at the moment, Dom?
So down the man's looking quick at the moment. It's a very smooth sector 1, sector 2 looking just as clean. If he can get it all tidy through these final few corners, he should be challenging the time of Aidan Griffith so far. A little twitchy there from Dan, so not so much confidence in this latter half of the lap, but Aidan Griffith's a good time so far, half a second quicker than Kyle's 1:34.3, so a good benchmark there from the Racing Point driver. What can Dan the man do? He's claimed 80 career pole positions. No one has had ever more in TGP1. Can he make it 81 tonight at this final race of the season? Fighting for P3 in the championship. Currently looking good then for what should be probably a top 3 or top 4 lap times. Not being the smoothest of laps, but it is still being quick thanks to the sector 1 and sector 2 times. Crosses the line and goes only 5th, so he was actually lost a second in that final sector.
Well, maybe it was that slide coming through the chicane, maybe the Ferrari not quite gripped up yet, or maybe Dan just starting to get his eye in as Matt Tibos obliterates everyone else and does a 33.2 to go 6 tenths quicker than the nearest car. If this was a game of top trumps, then I fear that Matt has just played a very good card.
Yes, I think he might be right there, Mike. A very good time for Matt Tibos. Kyle sets his lap, Matt Tibos goes round and goes about a second. So Kyle was already feeling a little dejected after Brazil. I don't think he'll be a little too more confident after this one. So Kyle then, a second back. Thankfully only 2 places back at the moment, but I suspect cars will go in between those drivers. We've got a few more out there on laps. A lot of drivers are now returning to the pit lane. Phil Bardwell, birthday boy, didn't have the best race for him in Brazil. Also a shame for Dan the Man. I think Dan the Man was really in that fight for P5 overall, but unfortunately for him, that front wing damage that he got earlier on in the race meant he obviously had to serve a 5-second change at the front wing in the pits. And the gap was just so close between those 5, 6, 7, 8 drivers that it meant he went to the back of the pack and just couldn't quite do anything about those in front. Dan did take the fastest lap at least, but unfortunately he did not score any points. Currently P6 at the moment in that Ferrari. He is improving on this lap time, but I think he might just dive into the pits because if he does improve, of course he'll have to start on those used tyres. If I know he's going to finish the lap, so he's going to go then and set a quicker time than that 1:34.9 he set before. How much quicker by? By a tenth, but it's enough to go up into P3.
Yeah, that's a solid lap there from Dan, a 33.8. Found a second, so maybe he did lose that second in the last sector. He's just slower than Aiden, as we got a Mercedes getting out the way there, I believe, of Paul McGuinness. Machine Fishy has come out for another run after his spin on effort number 1 at least, as he's rounding turn number 2 now. And heading to the bottom of sector 1. Dom, I have to say, we're well poised, I think, for a good qualifying. I still think that there's some time to find. My Jean-Luc Taylor notes that were provided me, he reckons we're going to have a mid-32 for pole position in this evening's race. So we still believe there's some time to find out there for a lot of the drivers. But what can Machine Fishy's first representable lap time be as he heads now to the end of the long straight? A little bit on the brakes this time, still a little bit of lockup on that front left. He needs to get rid of that. Onto the second straight now, heading past the support paddock. The fans all lined up on the right-hand side. I hope they're all wearing masks as Machine Fishy under braking now. Keeps it on the curb nicely. Is he going to have a wiggle through here like Dan did? It's a lot more controlled, at least for the moment. This tricky left-hander now. Get on the power nicely. Coming up now to the triple right-hander. This is where he spun, of course, on his lap last time. Will he fall the same fate? Let's hope not for his sake. And he manages to keep it off of the runoff this time, underneath the Yas Marina Hotel. Double left-hander then as he comes up to the penultimate corner. Keep it in the lines, Fishy. Let's have a good lap time from you. Let's get you involved. Into the last corner now. The Alfa Romeo driver on the run up to the line. Where will this put him? It's P2, a 33.7, but still, Dom, half a second off of Matt Tibos's bet time.
That lap time from Matt is looking pretty frightening for the rest of the opposition, isn't it? 5/10 the difference between him and everyone else. As John said, a mid 1:32 is the time. He expects drivers to be able to set around this duck. We've got a Williams, I think, about to start there next time lap. It will be Kyle, so what can Kyle do? Can he improve on that 1:34.3? But want to find at least a second to get in the mix between Matt Tibos and Fishy. But yeah, a few drivers did some practice laps yesterday and found themselves in the high 32s, low 33s. So whether or not we'll see a mid 32 lap or not, I'm not totally sure, but still a long way to go in this session. Still, drivers have only really set 1 or 2 respectable lap times as Kyle finds a 100th in the opening sector. He needs to find a bit more than that if he's to go up a few places in this pecking order. Machine Fishy has only had 1 pole position all season. That came back in France, I believe, which he went on to win. Will we see the Williams of J-Lu giving his teammate any sort of tow? If Kyle is lacking that qualifying performance, then maybe he needs his teammate just to give him a bit of an advantage in this qualifying session, especially now that he's 2 points behind in this championship race. He needs every bit of help he can get. Matt Tebbo's teammate is not here this evening. He will not have the advantage of his teammate helping out. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe his teammate will not be in hindrance if he finds himself behind him and a safety car or something like that comes out. So what can Kyle do? He is now about a 10th and a half up through the middle sector. He's finding time, but it's not a lot. This would put him still in P5 unless he can find pretty special pace in that final sector. Dan Mann currently 5/10 further up the road in P4. Aiden once again setting some very good pace tonight as Kyle almost goes a bit wide. He's got Machine Fishy right in front of him. Shouldn't be too much of a distraction as Corey has gone quicker with a 1:32.9 while we watch this. Corey G will be next across the line. Kyle loses it, and that's going to cost him all the time that he found in the first 2 sectors. He's going to dive into the pit lane surely and go again. Paul McGee didn't cross the line. He abandoned his lap too, so maybe he cut the final sector. Corey crucially goes quicker with a 1:32.9, and Kyle crucially backs out of his lap and will have to go again with 7 minutes of the session remaining.
There we go, finally ducking into the 1:32s. I have to say I was watching on board with Kyle coming through that last sector. It was all looking so good, so neat, so tidy. Into the triple right-hander, he ran a little bit wide, and maybe that's what put his mindset in the wrong place coming into those last couple of corners, and didn't cost him very well. Oh my lord, I've just seen Kong Hoffner overshoot he's had to reverse on the track. Unbelievable. Embarrassing moment there for Kong Hoffner. That was unfortunate timing from me to cut onto him. Jay Luke has just peeled into the pits, as has Jake Dennis. Jack Hickman, I'm not sure if he's just starting out. I think he's just finished a lap, actually, and gone up into P6 on a 34.0. Matt Tibos is on a lap at the moment, and after the first sector, he was half a tenth up on his personal best time. So, the championship leader then, currently knocked off a pole spot by his challenger in qualifying in the last race, Corey. So let's watch Matt Tibos then, coming to the end of Sector 2 before he heads into Sector 3. What sort of sector time is he going to be doing? He's a 10th down, actually, on his middle sector time. Maybe he's had a little bit more front wing on. Machine Fishy's been disqualified. Unbelievable. He was in 3rd. He's going to be starting at the back of the grid. A disaster for the Alfa Romeo driver. He's had a nightmare of a session, but meanwhile, let's focus on Matt Tibos again. Nice and neat and tidy in that triple right-hander. Under the hotel he comes. 2 corners to go. He was a 10th down after the middle sector. Has he found that in the last sector? Is he going to peel into the pits? He doesn't peel onto the pits. What about my other question? Up to the line, Matt Tibos comes, and he does improve, sorry. I think maybe his lap time was invalidated. So he doesn't improve on the timesheet, but he did do a 33.0. So only a tenth off of Corey's effort, but obviously clearly pushed the boundaries a little bit on the white line, shall we say. So huge drama then. 5 minutes to go. We have Machine Fishy disqualified from the session. We've had Kong Hoffner overshoot the pits. We've had Corey go fastest. And we've had Kyle really struggling to get a good lap time in. He's on another outlap now. Where is he? He's just coming to the end of Sector 2, I believe. So he will soon be starting a lap. But Dom, if tonight wasn't hard enough for the poor chap, he's just lost 17 points in the last race, and now he can't even get any higher than 6th on the grid. Meanwhile, his championship rival is a second quicker.
Yeah, it's very concerning for Kyle that the rest of the field seems to have found some pretty good pace over the last few weeks, which has not helped his hopes for the championship at all. Suddenly, the guys like Aiden and Jack Hickey weren't necessarily in that front fight at the start of the season, have found time as the season's progressed, and now suddenly they're getting in the mix, which is putting more cars in between himself and Matt Tibos. Matt Tibos, I think, is going to peel into the pits and get one more attempt very shortly. Machine Fishy got disqualified from the session because he was coming out the pit lane, trying to let Aiden Griffins through the tunnel, but it's so tight there, and I think Aiden wasn't quite sure if he was letting him through or if he was just taking it cautious, so Aiden sort of sat behind for a split second, and that was all it was. A split second later, and suddenly he was disqualified from the session, so very harsh there from Fishy. Fishy will have it all to do from the back of the grid, and that's not what Kyle needs. Kyle needs cars in front of Matt Tibos if he can't get in front of him in that fight at the front. He needs cars to be fighting Matt and taking him down positions. Okay, so that's not what he needed at all.
Not what he needed at all, Dom. Absolutely not. A disaster for Machine Fishy. Kyle, meanwhile, found 100th of a second in Sector 1. He's getting quite out of shape, shall we say, coming out of the first real chicane onto the back straight now. How's his second sector split looking? He's 73 thousandths of a second up in his time, and he's run wide. Kyle, what's happening? He's now on the grass. He's going cutting. That's probably the most expensive lawnmower I've ever seen, and definitely the most nervous lawnmower driver I've ever seen. He's now racing to get back into the pits, Dom, to try and get another run in.
I don't think he's going to make it. I think the time's elapsed. It takes about a minute to get into the pit lane and out again, and the time is 2 minutes 30 to go. Of course, let's not forget the time is about 40 seconds out, we believe. So he might just have enough time to get into the pit, get some new tyres on, and go out again. But it's going to be very tight for Kyle to get out there and set another time lap. Currently starting 4 places back from his championship rival, Matt Tibos. Aiden Griffins is casually returning to the pit lane, which suspects to me there might just be enough time to get out there and get one more time lap in. But yeah, not what Kyle needs under pressure to perform on his final lap time of the season.
Well, let's hope so. We've just had a racing point coming to the pits as well. I believe that was Aiden. In terms of drivers on laps at the moment, we don't have anyone lining up. We just had Dan the Man leaving the pits. Corey is soon to be starting a lap. He's just coming under the Yas Hotel. So let's see if he can improve on his 1 minute 32.939. He's gearing himself up. The number 69, the Mercedes driver, our outgoing champion. Corey then lines the car up and he starts his lap time then. Can he improve on that 32.9? 3/10 of a second quicker than anyone else so far through turn 1. Nice and clean, really nicely on the power then from the Mercedes driver. Hooks up 2 and 3 nicely, really carrying the speed and as much curve as he can get away with, you have to say, through sector 1 then. He's found half a tenth. Really attacking this chicane now as he heads towards the hairpin. Gets under the brakes nicely. No lock-ups from him there. Doesn't let the car run wide. Nicely on the power now. Has he got anyone to get a tow from? It doesn't look like it. On the DRS as early as possible as he makes his way down now to the first real chicane. Kyle has just left the pits to go on his outlap, so he may just make it. Heavy braking then from Corey, gets into that hairpin so nicely. Each curve is coming to him perfectly. A really clean and tidy lap from the Mercedes driver. Gets a little bit of a tow and very close to them for good measure. What's the second split time going to be? He's 35 thousandths of a second up now, so he has lost a little bit of time. Maybe that little bit of a scare with the back marker. Just putting the brakes on his time a little bit, but certainly still up. But he maybe needs a little bit more than this. We saw how close Matt got on his lap time that got invalidated. This triple right-hander now, this really tricky braking zone, but he hooks it up nicely underneath the Yas Hotel, which is just starting to light up. He's running as close to track limits as humanly possible. He's really trying, Matt Tibos, at the moment as he heads into the last corner now. What can he do? CJH has retired, but we're focusing on Corey. He comes to the line and he does a 32.827. Take that, everyone else.
So he's improved by a shortest of mole margins. Matt Tibos is looking quick. He's a 10th up in the first sector. He's finding time, the time that he needs. Kyle is just about starting his final lap now, so we think he's just got his lap done in time. Aidan Griffin should also be one of the last runners through on their laps, but Matt Tibos will be coming through very shortly. It's a good first sector. He's found the time. He needs to find 4/10 if he's to displace Corey and take pole position. Number 9, I believe, of the season. He's been fantastic when it comes to qualifying throughout this season. It will deserve him the title if he can keep getting these lap times and keep taking race wins as he has done since the opening week. So Corey currently on pole, 4/10 the difference. Matt Tibos looking quick in the second sector. Will it be enough though to take pole position, Mike?
I don't know. Matt then, only a few more corners to go. He's kept it neat and tidy. The number 9 in the Renault as Jack Hickman puts himself into 3rd place, but still a second off of Corey. We're focusing as Phil Bardwell goes 3rd now. Matt Tibos then, just 2 corners to go. Keep it neat and tidy, son, and you might find yourself on provisional pole. Up to the line he comes. Will it be pole position? No, it's not. He finds 2/10, but he doesn't find enough to displace Corey. Looking back now, Kyle, believe it or not, is all the way down in 9th, but he's 2/10 up on his previous best. A few more corners to go now. It's a very tricky section of the track he comes into, but the time at the moment is not going to be enough to really lift him very high at all. He needs more than that, but no mistakes, Kyle. We've got a Mercedes off in front of him. I think that's Paul McGuinness. Kyle then using all the track he can. 2 corners to go. Where will the title challenger be? Into the last corner then. It's certainly not going to be competing with Matt Tibos or Corey, but is it going to be higher than 9th? It's only 7th place. But I have to say, he was only a couple of attempts off Phil in 3rd. So not a bad lap type in the end from Kyle, but everyone else was just a little bit better then. Aidan up to the line, and can he improve on 5th? Yes, he can. He displaces his teammate into 4th. Jack Hickman, I think, is on another lap. And coming up to the line, is he going to do any better? I'm not sure if he is on another lap, actually. Forgive me.
No, I think he's done. And more disgust for Kyle. His teammate, Jay Luke, is down in P12. He will not be much help to him come the race. They're going to have to try something different with strategy because Matt Tibos is starting on P2. Kyle back on the 4th row. A second difference, the pace between himself and Corey and Matt, who start 1st and 2nd. Corey and Matt, half a second quicker than Phil, who's 3rd. A fantastic qualifying from Phil to put himself in that top 3 with the 2 racing points, 4th and 5th. Dan the Man was finding time on his final lap, but did have a huge crash in the final sector, pushing a bit too hard, hitting the curb, spinning round, and finding himself in the barrier. So he starts no higher than P6. But Kyle, not where he needs to start. He's starting down in P7, a second off Corey and Matt Tibos, looking very good to take a second career TGP1 title.
Well, let's hope that we get a good race. That's all we want, isn't it? And the last race of the season. But your grid then, for the last race of the season, Corey is on pole. Matt Tibos in second place. Phil on his birthday in third. Can he turn that into a podium? We'll find out. Aidan Griffin's joining him on row 2. Jack Hickman and Dan the Man on row 3. Our championship contender, Kyle, down in 7th. Disappointed from him. Kong Hofner recovering from his embarrassing mistake to be 8th. Ginger Andy in 9th. CJH in 10th. Paul McGuinness in 11th. J. Luke in 12th, Jake Dennis in 13th, Court in 14th, Waste in 15th, and Machine Fishy right at the back after being disqualified from qualifying. Oh, Dom, where's this going to go? I don't want to call it. I'm sure you don't want to call it.
Yeah, it's wide open, isn't it? Machine Fishy says he's looking forward to some racing. Now that he starts at the back of the grid, we saw earlier in the season, I think it was Bahrain, he started at the back and finished in the podium places. So can he do something similar here today and take another, at least a going out on a high with maybe a Driver of the Day award or something? But Dan the Man, J. Luke, and Corey, of course, all fighting for P3 in the championship. Corey will at least want to take third place if he's not going to defend that title that he won last season. Matt Tibos then, that's just a quick reminder, 2-point lead over Kyle going into the final race. 2 points is the difference. So if Kyle finishes ahead, it must be in the first 3 or 4 places. Otherwise, he must finish 2 places ahead or take a fastest lap and be a place ahead. A bit confusing, but we'll keep you updated throughout the race.
Well then, here we go. 1 race, 2 drivers, 1 championship. The drivers are getting ready. Ginger Andy, the last into his car. As we wait, the tension building for these drivers. We have 2, 3, 4, 5 lights in Abu Dhabi. And we're underway, and it's a good start from the front row, but Matt is struggling. He's under pressure from the Red Bull of Phil. Is he going to get attacked around the outside? Aidan gets a little bit interested as well, but Corey's racing off into the distance. Matt all under every single kind of pressure from Phil Bardwell and Aidan Griffiths. Phil a little bit offline coming through turn number 3. Kyle is just about holding on into 7th, and Matt Tibos is just about holding on to 2nd at the moment. Aidan and Dan the Man getting involved in some racing there as we got a car off, and it was Jack Hickman. Don't know what happened to Jack. It was out of shot. But Kyle is now putting all kinds of pressure on Dan the Man, but that's not enough for him, but it's a good start at least. Talking of good starts, Corey racing off into the distance ahead of Matt Tibos now by nearly a second, who's almost pulled a second to Phil Bardwell. Aidan Griffin's getting a little bit racy as we got Kyle charging up the inside of Dan the Man, and for the moment at least getting the move done. Climbing all over the curve and nearly spinning the title challenger, but unfortunately for Dan, he did spin, and he dropped all the way to the bottom of the order. Now Kyle surviving in 5th place. And there's the 2 McLarens into the wall. It's a huge accident. Oh my goodness. Kong Hofner flying across the track, and somehow his race is still going. Oh, it was, but he's got a penalty. Contact there. We have a virtual safety car to clear up the debris. And I can catch my breath a little bit, Dom. What a manic opening lap we've had in the season finale.
Corey crucially staying clear of Matt Tibos at the start. Matt Tibos is so good on his getaways, but Corey stayed ahead. He stayed P1. He's built up a second advantage. A very good start for him. The VSC has been deployed. Will any of these runners choose to pit now and get a cheap pit stop? The 2 racing points came together. Aidan and Jack Hickman were side by side, and the slightest of contact spun Jack Hickman around down into P15. Now Aidan just about holding off into P4, but Kyle crucially has gained 2 places, is now into that top 5 as Aidan races Phil Bardwell for P3.
Yep, and we've got CJH into the pits as well as Jake Dennis. I wonder if they maybe had some damage from the tangles further back. Kyle's got himself a nice lead to Ginger Andy further back, so he's not under pressure for behind for now at least. Kong Hofner's retired from the race, not surprising considering the heavy impact he had with his teammate. We had teammate collisions running all the way through the field there. Dan the Man, a big loser as well, of course, spinning off the side of Kyle's car. So Aidan Griffin's, Phil Bardwell, currently separating Kyle from a podium. Now he needs to be on the podium to have a chance of winning the title, but he also needs to be ahead of his championship rival. Aidan, at least, is trying to progress himself to the podium, thinks about a move, but not quite. Phil holds on for now. Kyle working his way back up to as well, as we have our F1 insights from AWS. Who's going to pit when and what strategy is going to be the winning strategy as Aidan all over the back of Phil Bardwell as they head down the back straight. Who's going to be the last last of the late breakers. Aiden was going to try it around the outside. Phil's wise to that. It is his birthday. He's a year older, and he was a year older to Aiden's tricks there at least, and that's given a chance for Kyle to pull the gap down a little bit now to less than a second as we head crucially into next lap to DRS. But the issue for Kyle is he's got a 3-second deficit already to his title rival, Dom.
Yeah, not what he needed. We're seeing another 5-car train behind Andy from P6 downwards, fighting once again for these midfield positions. Andy just about holding off Waze. It's been a fantastic start from J-Luke, up 3 places into P9. Court as well, looking very racy into 8th place, hitting the back away. It's very scruffy driving from some of these drivers on the first few laps. Not quite sure what's going on. But Corey leading by 2 seconds. A great start for him. Phil Bardwell just about holding on to that P3 from Aiden Griffins. Aiden Griffins wants that podium. He's looking racy. He hasn't been on the podium now for 2 weeks, looking to get back on that top step if he can before not too long. But Kyle, for now, keeping his distance, just keeping behind these two. Can't afford to get involved in any incident. He's got a nice little 3-second gap now. Back to Ginger Andy, who is not doing anything about that at the moment. So Kyle can at least focus on in front. Matt Tibbers not looking like he's going to win this race as things stand. A 3-car train now for P4, P3 and P5.
Dom, this is going to be a fantastic battle. Aiden's really got the bit between his teeth and the rider's pulling on it. And is Aiden going to try into the corner? He doesn't think about it. Kyle getting very close to the back of that racing point. Matt Tibbos just in shot there, racing clear of these threes. Battle for 3rd place. Phil Bardwell, Aiden Griffins and Kyle all within a second of each other, within half a second of each other. Phil Bardwell must have set his car up very nicely for some straight line speed, because Aiden is really struggling to be in a position to actually make a move there. Further down we have Wace, who's up as high as 8th, really putting a lot of pressure on the back of Court. Meanwhile, Machine Fishy is up to 9th, and he's challenging Wace for 8th. Fantastic racing. He said he wanted to have some fun, and boy is he having it. Is he going to try into the corner where he spun in qualifying? There's a bit of contact, and he nearly spun in the race. Jay Luke has been able to make his way up to 9th thanks to that, and as Machine Fishy runs a little bit wide, that's not helped him at all. Meanwhile, Kyle is peeling into the pits. It's an early pit stop, maybe thinking of an undercut, Dom.
Yeah, fantastic strategy from Kyle. He had to do something. He needs to clear Phil and Aiden. He can't afford to sit behind. Those two are losing chunks of time to Matt in 2nd place. Kyle should come out in clean air. There's a good train behind Andy, but behind that is another 15 seconds or 20 seconds until the McLaren of CJH. So this should put Kyle in some clean air. He can start to set some quick lap times as Phil picks up a 3-second time penalty that could come costly towards the end of this race. But now Kyle can start to set those lap times that he knows he can set, and maybe even chase Matt Tibbs and surprise him with an undercut for P2.
Yeah, certainly. CJH has only just come around turn 1. Meanwhile, Kyle has rejoined the track as we make our way back to the battle for 3rd. Aiden all over the back of that Red Bull, and this time surely he's alongside, and for the moment at least he's into 3rd place. Phil tries to position his car for a move down into the next hairpin. He will have DRS, of course, on the back of the racing point. Aiden swerving all over the track. Phil's going to have to go the long way, and he's got the move done. Maybe he has got a slippery car, Dom, because that looked very easy.
It did, didn't it? Phil Bardwell just came straight back at it. Aiden Griffin's now P4, and this you'd expect that these two are to pit now. Kyle would come out right in front of them, so how long will these two choose to go in this race? Meanwhile, in the background, J-Luke made a stunning pass on Waze to take P7. Fishy still struggling to get past that Haas driver.
Oh, Dan's gone for a spin again, Dom.
Not what man needed. A disastrous night for him. Looks like he's going to lose P3 in the championship. Corey looking good to take his first win since the first week of the season back in Bahrain. It's been quite a while for him now, hasn't it? Corey, has he chosen to pit this time round? He has.
No, Phil has though.
Well, they've all come
sorry,
in.
He has. Sorry, they all have. Apart from Aiden. Sorry, Dom.
Aiden
stays out. Oh no! I thought, goodness, I thought that was Kyle. Sorry, everyone. I got very excited at seeing Machine Fishy getting a penalty. Then I had visions of Matt Tibbos getting a penalty coming into the pits. Where is Kyle though? Kyle is just coming around the final corner. Matt Tibbos is just about to head underneath turn 1. Phil Bardwell is just coming underneath turn 1 as well. Kyle is coming over the top of turn 1. Where's Phil Bardwell? Oh, Kyle's miles clear.
Down the man's round again, he's had a spin, and Matt Tibbos should go through, and nicely for Matt Tibbos, slots in behind him and ahead of Kyle, because Kyle was for now just one position back. Down the man's really struggling. Does he have damage?
He does have heavy front wing damage, and Phil has come out just behind Kyle, so really hasn't worked well for him, and Aiden's now got time to hopefully get a little bit of a gap, he'd hope, to the cars behind, but on older tyres it could be difficult. We've got another virtual safety car, Dom, for Jake Dennis retiring further down the field. So anyone in the pits now will get a little bit of an advantage, but that's kind of come at the wrong time for everyone. That could have been very costly for Kyle if that virtual safety car had come out while his championship rival was in the pits. And look, he's closed all the way to the back of Matt Tibos now. He really wants this safety car to end. This is a great opportunity for him.
With these two fighting over second and third in the race, it's a matter of whoever finishes ahead of who will win the championship. For now, Matt Tibos is 1.5 clear of his rival. His rival had to make that move. He had to do the undercut to clear Phil. And Aiden, you saw how much time he's found. He's already a second clear of Phil now. Aiden yet to make a pit stop. I think Aiden would have liked that BSC to stay out for a little longer. Could have got a cheap pit stop from it, but Aiden now, I suspect, will come in this lap or next time round. It is going to be the next time round, but look at this now. Kyle can see in front of him the championship. If he can get past Matt, get through, take the place, he will be the champion. That's going to be a lot harder said than done.
It is going to be easier said than done, and as we said, that fastest lap could come into effect, because if these two people, drivers, swap around, and it is Kyle in second and Matt in third, and Matt were to get the fastest lap, then he would win on countback. But Kyle has got a lot of work to do before he can get in that position, and you have to say at the moment Matt is the quicker of the two drivers. Kyle really needed to jump Matt in those pit stops and keep him behind, so he's got an awful lot of work to do. He was a second off Matt in qualifying. He's got to find a lot of time. He's got to dig deep. If he wants this championship, his first TGP1 title, then he has got to do something pretty special about it. Meanwhile, Phil Bardwell is still lurking in his mirrors, and certainly Kyle will want to keep him in the mirrors and keep his eyes focused on Matt Tibos. Meanwhile, Jack Hickman is starting his recovery drive all over the back of CJH. He's got the DRS Racing Point on the move, one Racing Point in the lead at the moment. Another Racing Point making an overtake for 9th on the road. As he heads down into the heavy braking zone, he's got the move done comfortably and makes the apex nicely as well. But this could give an opportunity for the McLaren on the cutback. Meanwhile, Machine Fishy on his recovery drive at the moment up to third without making a pit stop and putting a lot of pressure on Jay Luke. Phil Bardwell's picked up a penalty. That could be crucial towards the end of the race. But as he is only half a second off of Kyle, Phil Bardwell finding some extraordinary pace at the moment, and he really needed to, because he was holding up everyone. Meanwhile, Aiden Pitts, where's this going to put him in relation to these two battling for third? Phil Bardwell has just put hell to leather. He's got a 7-second gap to Andy, so at the moment at least he's not worrying about anyone behind, and he's not worrying about any track limits by the look of it. He's going all the way to Dubai and back, to look like, Dom.
J. Luke is going long on the medium tyres as well, worth to note. So Matt Tibos and Kyle will catch these front two, and they're about to go racing for P1 and P2. Can Machine Fishy find a way through? Just a 10th between them. Both of them have worked their way through this field, Both of them starting at the back end of the grid, but now first and second on the road, going longer on these medium tyres. They will pit in a few laps' time for the soft rubber. Will J. Luke choose to stay out a little longer to try and hold up Matt Tibos as those two catch the back of this pack here? But this is a chance now for Machine Fishy to take the net lead on the circuit. The lead on the track. He will go to the left. It's pretty easy for him, isn't it? On the Alfa Romeo, a lot quicker in that car. Locks up a bit. A chance for Joe to come back at him, and you can see Corey right behind these two, of course, the real race leader, will want to clear these two as quickly as he can.
Yeah, certainly. This is a great battle for what is first place on the road, at least. Jay Luke taking the position back from Machine Fishy, but Machine Fishy really wanting to have that first place on the road. And Corey will want to clear both of these as quickly as he can, and he's caught them in the wrong part of the track where there's next to no overtaking opportunities. And Corey has spun. He catches it. He's on the grass. Where's Matt Tibos? Matt Tibos takes the net lead of the race. Disaster for the Mercedes driver, and that could have handed the title to Tibos on a silver plate with a napkin. Unbelievable. Corey loses his cool in the desert and now falls behind Matt Tibos while he was catching the drivers in front. We said it was a bad part of the track to catch them, and it's really not played into his advantage. Jay Lucas decided to throw away the team tactics sheet and has come into the pits. Corey, though, has got a lot of work to do, Dom.
I can't believe it. Corey looked like he was finally going to take that race victory that's eluded him for so long, but he spun it. A simple mistake, a 4th second lead thrown away. Matt Tibos has taken over, but it's not over yet. Corey can still get back in front of Matt Tibos. We could see a race between these two now for P1 and P2 once Machine Fishy makes his stop. And of course, any bit of contact, Kyle will be there ready to take his opportunity. This can allow Kyle maybe to catch to the back of Matt Tibos now. Just 2 seconds back he is in P4. None of these drivers carrying penalties at the moment, but look how much quicker Corey is on Matt Tibbos. He's going to get a great opportunity now into this next chicane. Will he go for a move? Pull the inside, will he wait for it? Knowing that maybe the DRS is about to come into the next play. He sits behind for now, brakes a little later, not going to have the best line then into the next couple of corners. Matt Tibbos for now holds on to P2, but Corey's looking quick, looking racy, and will want back that position pretty quickly.
That will give some reassurance to Matt that this race win is far from gone. Obviously, he sits in a net race lead at the moment. Corey with all the work to do. He was being hunted, and now he's the hunter after that simple mistake at this corner. 1 lap ago. Corey, thankfully for him this time, keeps it all 4 wheels on the road and facing the right way. But he's so much quicker than Matt Tibbos. Look at the gap he's closing, and he's really pushing that car. He wants this race win. Not had a race win since round number 2, Dom, and the pressure maybe got to him, but it's still within his grasp. Machine Fishy will surely dive into the pits over the coming laps, you have to say, and in fact he's done it now. But as we start lap number 9, Matt Tibbos is in first place, and at the moment the title is going to be his, and it's going to be a hard task for Kyle to deny him of that at the moment. But as long as he keeps it with these two, he may have a chance still of getting past his title rival.
6 laps to go then. What can Matt Tibbos do? What can Kyle do about Matt's current championship status? Matt Tibbos, for now, holding on to the net lead. It's only 0.4 of a second over Corey. He's got Kyle 2 seconds further drift, and still, Phil Bargewell sits right behind him in that P4. Aiden will be now on quicker tyres, looking to close up on the back of this quartet. But Matt Tibbos now once again looks in his mirrors. He's got Corey coming straight at him on this first long DRS straight. Will Corey go to the left and move inside? He takes the position. The Mercedes runner is going to go side by side with the Renault driver. The two of them side by side, and Corey takes the lead of this race. And once again, Matt Tibbos now has to do the attacking.
I think that Matt's got it in his mind that maybe he doesn't have to go for it, but the racer in him wants the win. It's there within his grasp. Is he going to go for a move, or is he going to think of the championship? I can't see because I've gone to the front wing of Corey's car, but he's playing safe at the moment and just sticking behind them. Meanwhile, Kyle and Phil are having a right doodah, and Phil nearly spinning Kyle coming into the exit of the chicane. Now, this isn't what the Williams driver needs. Just when Matt Tibbos is on the back foot, he's on an even backer foot.
Still setting some fantastic pace at the moment, getting very close to Kyle. He was pushing him around almost through that chicane. Kyle just about holding on. He doesn't need this. He needs to be focusing on front, setting his own lap time and catching the front two who are in their own little fight. Corey might now just pull away from Matt Tibbos. Kyle needs to set some good lap times. Crucial 5 laps coming up for him. But Phil Bardwell looking very racy, less than a second behind Kyle. He'll take the DRS. Kyle will not be getting any sort of advantage from the car in front of him, and Aidan Griffin is now joining this pack as well. So this is not what Kyle needs. He needs something disastrous to happen to Matt Tibbos. Otherwise, that title is going to Matt.
Yeah, and Matt is still, he was just within a second of Corey. It's on that second featuring mark. I don't think he's going to get DRS this lap. He's just a little bit too far back, but Kyle isn't close enough to pounce, and he's got to be watching his mirrors because Phil Bardwell is getting very racy. We know he's had a drink. It's his birthday. He's feeling right up for it, and he's right up for a battle with a championship contender. Aiden is just sitting there monitoring this, waiting for disaster, but will it come? Phil's going to try around the outside into the first chicane. Kyle's having to be late on the brakes. That's put him out of line for the second part of it. He doesn't need to be doing this. Phil's got an unbelievable amount of penalties, but he's so much quicker. Phil, we know, is very quick in a straight line. Phil alongside Kyle coming into going to be last on the brakes. It's Phil, and he's into third on the road, and Kyle's going to have to just sit behind him for the moment.
Wow, so Phil Bardwell takes P3 from Kyle, but as you said, he's carrying 9 seconds worth of time penalties. I believe he'll drop back to, I think, P5 behind Aiden and Kyle. Can Kyle now start to get a rhythm again and try to get back through on Phil and do something about Matt Tibbos and Corey, because those two are pulling away. 3 seconds the difference. Even if Matt was to get a time penalty, it wouldn't make a difference because he's got that gap now ahead of these drivers. So time is starting to run out for Kyle. He's led the championship for so long, but finally, on the final night of the season, it's looking like Matt Tibbos is going to take...
I think Dom was about to say the title. I don't know what's happened to his microphone there. Meanwhile, we're staying with the battle for third. Kyle and Phil and Aiden all over each other. Less than a second separate the three of them. Phil running wide there. Maybe his tyres are starting to cry a sigh of relief as he's been pushing them so hard for so long. With 4 laps to go then. It's going to Matt at the moment, who's sitting pretty in second place, keeping his gap to Corey and keeping Phil very much at legs length, you have to say. Kyle trying to go down the inside of Phil. Phil doesn't challenge it too much, maybe knows about the second DRS zone. Aiden with DRS behind, getting very close as Phil gets very close to the rear end of Kyle. Coming on now to the second straight. Phil bunny hops over the curb and gets himself another penalty. I don't think he cares anymore. He's now in the wheel track to Kyle. He only wants to be third on the road. That's his main aim for this race, and for the moment at least he's got it done. But Kyle's trying to challenge on the inside. Phil cutting back and just about keeping fourth, and Kyle's having a spin and can't. Phil's hit the back of him and Aiden's round the outside, and Phil has lost a lot of ground, and Kyle has now got to really worry about the fact that Aiden's behind him, and we don't think Aiden is compromised in this race.
Yeah, Aiden looking very quick here. He chose that a little longer. I thought maybe it was going to cost him because of the places he'd lose, but he's finding the time back now, isn't he? He's looking very good on those medium tyres. About 3 laps fresher than Kyle, about 2 laps fresher than Phil. So Aiden looking racy in that racing point. Corey looking like for now, as long as he doesn't make another similar mistake, should finally take that race victory. But Aiden Griffin just 4/10 back from Kyle. The championship might be going to Matt Tibbos, but still a chance for some success here for Aiden at least to finish the season with a podium. He just missed out in Brazil, but could take it here from Kyle. Kyle will have to do something, but he's running out of time. There's just 3 more laps to go. Still fights going on further down the field. I think Andy has just about held off Jack Hickey. Hickey's coming back at him, but a mistake on the previous lap cost him about half a second, has put him back to a second behind. But Aiden's now going to have a glorious chance to get Kyle here.
Yep, Aiden in the wheel tracks of Kyle. He's going to have DRS, and this is going to be an easy manoeuvre for third place, you would think. Aiden pulling alongside the Williams driver, and he's pulling into third place, but Kyle is really not wanting to give this up in a hurry, and is fighting back on the inside. Dan the man sets the fastest lap further back. Meanwhile, Aiden has got the cutback, has got the DRS, and surely will have third place as we reach the end of Sector 2 with just over 2 laps to go. Aiden takes third place, and with newer tyres will surely be pulling a distance to him now. If I were Matt Tibbos, I'd be on the phone to my carpenter to say he needs a bigger trophy cabinet, because surely the title is going home with him.
Matt Tibbos claimed his 38th career victory in Brazil. I don't think he's going to get a 39th here. He will happily now settle for second place. It's all he needs. He doesn't need to be on the top step this time round. He's happily going to take second place, I think. He has a 6-second advantage over Aiden. Aiden's looking quick, but he's not going to close that kind of time on to Matt Tibbos. Kyle will lose the championship by one of the shortest margins in the league's history. He's put in a great effort throughout this campaign, but unfortunately for him, Matt Tibbos's total of race win, I think, is 8 to Kyle's 2. Doesn't lie. Matt Tibbos has been an formidable force throughout this season, and Matt would be a deserving winner, as Kyle would have been too. But Matt looking very good. Further back, what can Phil now do about Kyle? Can Phil take P4 from the Williams driver? Kyle will want to get Aiden back at least to claim a podium and make the points gap not so big. As J-Luke picks up a time penalty, that won't affect him. He's down in P10, so might lose the final point to Courts, but he's not in the fight for the championship or the race win here.
Kyle has got nothing to lose at this point. He's just got to go for it. His tyres are crying out for help. He's calling Aiden Griffins and saying, look mate, can I have third at least? Aiden's trying to run him out the road. This is going to get tight. There's a little bit of rubbing wheels. Aiden's off the road, and for the moment at least Kyle is up into third. Dan the man has retired further back, but that shouldn't cause us any problems. Aiden and Kyle side by side on the back straight, heading down now to the heavy braking zone. Kyle's going to try around the outside, but doesn't try hard enough, and Aiden just about holds on to third as we have a lap and a half to go, and Kyle needs a miracle and a couple of wishes to go with it to hope that this title ends up going home with him.
We've seen some brilliant racing tonight, as we have throughout the season. Aiden takes P3, but I get the feeling this title fight, the fight between those two is not over just yet. We should see more battles between those two on the final lap. It is now the final lap. Corey starts it looking good to take only his 3rd win of the season. It's not been the perfect campaign for the defending champion. He'll come back again next season stronger, I'm sure. He set some really good pace towards the end of this season to show that he still is force to be reckoned with. He still is going to be in that fight next season. He's looking good to take top spot here at Abu Dhabi. Matt Tibbos looking at an even bigger picture in P2 to take that championship. Aiden Griffins, can he hold on to P3? We've got still a Machine Fishy, in fact, has joined the back
I was
of this
just
trio.
about to say this, Dom. Fishy has come out of nowhere to join in with this. He's got some penalties too, so maybe in the grand scheme of things will not really have an impact on this result. But with less than a lap to go, about a minute of racing left for Matt Tibos to hold on to this title that's in his grasp. Aiden is running all over the road to try and shake off Kyle. Andy's about 9 seconds back from this. Machine Fishy and Phil Bardwell are going wheel to wheel. And the Alfa Romeo driver is just about holding on around the outside. Phil's having none of it. They're argy-bargying through the second part of the chicane with Phil off the road, and I'm sure Phil won't give that up if I know Phil Bardwell half as well as I do. Kyle is too far back. It's gone for him now, and I'm sure he knows it. Disappointment for him. He was in control of this championship for so long, and Machine Fishy's off the road as he keeps ahead of Phil Bardwell just about, and he's now going to set his sights on Kyle, but it won't really matter when penalties are applied. Meanwhile, further up the road, Corey has driven almost outstandingly, apart from his spin, but he more than made up for it as he rounds the final corner. Machine Fishy has overtaken Kyle in the midst of all this, and Kyle's actually having a bit of a spin, but Corey wins, but Matt Tibos wins the title, his second TGP1 crown. He is the season 34 champion. Aidan Griffiths holds on to third. Kyle will finish third. No, he doesn't. Kyle takes it when penalties are applied, thanks to Aiden, Machine Fishy and Phil's penalties. So capping off, you have to say it's disappointing in the end season for Kyle. It was so close but so far at the same time. But for Matt Tibos and the Renault team, it was sublime. It was almost fantastic, but it was in the end good enough to secure him his second TGP1 title. Dom, how well is he driven?
What a season it has been from Matt Tibos. 8 race victories, 9 pole positions. He is a deserving champion. Only the 7th driver to take multiple titles in TGP1. What a season it's been from Matt Tibos. He thoroughly deserves this crown. Kyle, hard luck, mate. You've gone really well throughout this season. A real force to be reckoned with going forward. He takes a podium at least from this race. He misses out, I think, by just 5 points in the end, just shy of Matt Tibos, who finished with 301 points, who doesn't take the record from Flexi for fewest total for a title win. But Matt Tibos thoroughly deserves his title. What a drive, and well done to Corey for taking the race win here in Abu Dhabi.
Well, Corey, he finished the season as he started it, but unfortunately for him, it wasn't returning his title crown, which he held from last season. But there are some positives from the Mercedes driver to take from it. So for one last time then in season 34 of TGP1, let's give you the results from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Corey takes his third win of the season. Matt Tibos in second takes his second TGP1 title. Kyle, it was so close, but so far in the end for him, he just couldn't keep it together. Finishes in third. Aidan Griffiths in fourth. Machine Fishy in fifth. A great recovery drive for him and driver of the day. Ginger Andy in sixth. Phil Bardwell, after penalties applied, down in seventh. Jack Hickman in eighth. J. Luke in ninth. And CJH rounding out the points with Court, Wace, Dan the Man, Paul McGuinness, and I missed out actually on our two non-scorers. Two non-finishers, I should say, of Jake Dennis and Kong Hoffner, who left us on lap one, of course, after that crash with his teammate. Dom, well, what a final week we've had. What a treat. What two fantastic races that we have seen there. And in the end, do you have to say the right driver won the title?
I think you do. I think at the end of the day, the race wins tell the story. Matt Tibos claimed 8 throughout the season, Kyle only 2. But Kyle's consistency was pretty remarkable. I don't think we've seen anything like that before, where someone has just been in that title fight for so long, despite not winning many races, not even getting that many podiums. He was 4th or 5th a lot this season. But yeah, Matt Tibos, I mean, 8 wins and still only just winning the title. It reminds me of 2003, I think, in real Formula 1, when Michael Schumacher ended the season with 6 wins to, I think, Raikkonen's 1, and still won the title by just the smallest of margins. 2 points it was. But Kyle misses out by 5 points. Matt Tibos becomes another TGP1 champion. What a season it has been. It's been fantastic from start to finish. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, I'm looking forward to next season already, Mike.
Yep, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow night where we have the season finale of TGP2, where the title challenge is between Owen and Alistair, who will get the crown there. But signing off, thank you everyone for tuning in this season for TGP1. We'll be back in 2021 for season 35, believe it or not, of TGP1, as we now head to our winter break, where there will be some interesting TGP activities, I'm sure, over the next couple of months, Dom, before Christmas. But thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for being part of this, and for witnessing our first season of TGP1 on F1 2020. We'll see you all in January. Dom and I would like to say thank you for watching, and we'll see you on PS4.